Yes, 2023 was indeed a very hot summer in British Columbia, with numerous temperature records broken across the province. Yes, 2023 was the hottest year on record for British Columbia, according to Environment Canada.
Experts expect more record-breaking heat in the weeks ahead.
Yes, summer 2024 was the hottest ever recorded globally, according to Copernicus climate data. Yes, 2023 was the hottest summer on record globally.
And that's why it was the best summer ever.
Yo, it's hot. Okay, so this is from early 2024. They're talking on the news again about it being the hottest summer ever last year. When the media or Facebook tells you last year was the hottest summer ever,
here's the deal. 2023 was the hottest year ever.
it simply was not. I want to look more closely at the summers of Abbotsford and Kelowna, British Columbia. We're focusing on 2021 to 24. Starting from June 1st, 21 and 23 are close early, but 21, as we know, takes off late. July of 23 and 24 start to get a bit hotter. For the 2024 temperatures, we don't got the colors, but it looks like this is the more consistently hot at this stage in July. 21 and 22 get hotter, especially 22 here at the end of July. The rest of August has slightly more of the higher days than 23, although 22 has more of a consistency, and 21 had the hottest day at 39.4 on August 12th. In September of 22, it's slightly ahead of 23. 24 also with a couple 30-degree days. But even after summer, it still had temperatures in the higher 20s right till mid-October. That's an Indian summer. In 2021, Abbotsford had 50 days of 25 degrees and up, 16 at 30, 5 at 35, and 2 at 40 or more. 22 is a bit more consistent, getting 56 days. There were actually more into fall. 20 at 30 degrees and 1 at 35. Close, but not the same intensity. 2023 had 56 days at 25 or over, and 13 days at 30. 2024 had 54 days at 25 or over, and 12 days at 30. 2022 was more consistent and into fall, but 21 with more intense days more early on and one in August as well. Kelowna had some scorching temperatures. Heat wave! Heat wave! 2021 and 23 are close in Kelowna, but late June skyrockets, hitting 44.6 and 44 times in a row. That's dangerous. In July, 23 is very hot. 21 has the most days over 30, but there are more 35s and higher 30s in 24. You see the one stretch here of the 8th to 10th with 36.9 and 2 back-to-back 38 days, although the highest temperature days is still 38.9 July 1st in 2021. In late July, 23 and 21 catch up a bit, but 22 is very hot, with a 38.8 and a 37.9. 2024 is the hottest day of all July, 39.5. As we go through August, 23 has a 38.3, but 22 is more consistently hot. 6 out of the first 7 days of September in 2024 are over 30. 2023 is, though, more consistently warm. 22, of course, stayed warm into October, but 24 has slightly warmer end of September. In 2021, there's 79 days of 25 and up, 50 of the 30-degree days, 12 at 35, and 4 at 40, which were all in a row. 2022 has 69 days of 25s, 45 30s, and 7 35s. 23 had 90 days at 25, so it was more consistently warm, 41 30s, and only 6 at 35. 24 had 75 days of the 25s, 44 of the 30s, 19 of the 35s, 14 in July. 23 had more warmer days in total, but 24 is the most consistently hot. However, 21 had more 30-plus days, and once you get to the 40 degrees, that puts the intensity hotter technically, at least that part in early summer. Of course, it's very mild in Vancouver, 21, 23, and even 24 are very close. At the end of June, 21 really jumps up. You can see in July that there are now more highs on 23, as the records would suggest. But actually 24 is a little hotter and has a 30-degree day here too. 24 goes for a slight nosedive here, and 22 changes in late July, just like Kelowna and Abbotsford. 21 came up as well. 2022 seems to have the most hot days in later summer, but when you factor in the first half, plus this part of August, 2021 was hotter. It hits 29.8 in September 24. Vancouver had 43 25 days in 2021, 6 days at 30 degrees. 2022 had 38 days of 25 degrees and up, and 3 days at 30. 2023 had 34 25-degree days, but no 30s. 2024 had 32 25 days and 1 30. 21 had more 25 plus days and clearly 30, while 2023 had 0 days at 30.
On this Wednesday night, beating the heat, more record-breaking temperatures.
It's going to get a lot worse.
Look here in Abbotsford, although it was hotter at that point in 23 compared to 22 and 21, it was clearly hotter before that in those years and after. Obviously, Kelowna wasn't in the same league as 2 years before at this point too. Spokane too, it did come up a bit here, but before 21 was hotter, and after 21, 22, and 24 are hotter.
This summer is off to a sweltering start, with tens of millions in North America under heat warnings tonight, and temperature records are falling fast. 2016 and 2020 were the hottest years on record, according to NASA.
Now let's look at 2016. 34.6 is as high as it gets. And 2020, it's even lower. Top 10 going from 28 to 32, back to 21, 31 to 42.9.
23 Abbotsford weather extremes. Highest temperature was only 33.6 in May. Like, how is that hotter?
Okay, so hottest year ever. Let's see. In Kelowna, top temperatures ranging from 33.5 to 35.7 in 2016. 2020, 34 to 37. But of course, in 21, 36 to 44.
This is the place that breaks records. It even had some individual days that were hotter than Phoenix.
In Lytton, 2023 gets off to the hotter start, although at the end of June, 2021 goes right into the pits of hell. As we can see, these 5 days are missing, probably because the town burnt down. As we get into July, 21 and 23 are very hot, 23 more consistently, and even hotter in July of 24, hitting back-to-back 40s at 42.4 and 42.5 on the 8th and 9th. Somehow in July, 2023 right here is the coldest. We see 2 36s, a 37, a 39, and 4 40s in a row and another 39 here in 2022. There are 4 40s in a 6-day span here in 2024. There might be some slightly higher lows there. 24 drops down, only hitting 40 once in August here. You can see a couple occasions in 2021. 2022 stays the most consistent, although 23 jumps up and hits 40 twice in a row. In the late summer, 24 and even more 21 seems to go for a nosedive. 22 really takes the cake at this stage, remaining really hot throughout the end of August. And another 39.6 on September 2nd. 24 comes back in September with a bunch of 30s. At the end of September, 22 is the most consistently warm, but 23 is the hottest, 5 30-degree days.
Lytton, 50-30 days in 2021, probably more given the time of the missing data. 31 days at 35, 7 days of 40, and 3 at 45 plus.
All in a row, yikes! 22 had 52 days at 30, 32 at 35, and still 4 40 days. 23 had 56 at 30, 21 days at 35, and 2 at 40. 2024 had 54 at 30, 29 at 35, and 7 at 40. 21 was the hottest, but 24 had the most intense July, and 22 was just as consistently hot throughout. Also, 24 had a record high for Lytton a certain date, Monday, July 8th, at 42.4 degrees. This AI overview says that was the hottest temperature in Canada that whole year. But if we check July 9th, the very next day, Lytton went up 0.1 degree. AI is not to be trusted. One of the important things to remember in 2021, though, is that nearly 600 people died due to summer heat waves. The coroner service said that 595 people died between June 18th and August 12th, with the largest number of heat deaths, 526 or 88%, occurring between June 25th and July 1st. The deadliest days took place on June 29th with 231 deaths and June 28th with 131. I'd assume more of them were actually around the Vancouver area, where it was not as extreme, obviously, as Lytton or Kelowna or Kamloops. You know, they're just not used to the heat the same, and of course there's a much larger population.
4 years, almost exactly later, when it's on fire again from another accident. The last time was some spark from a train. The RCMP, they accidentally sparked a wildfire north of Lytton. It appears that the right side wheel ejected from the trailer, ultimately causing a fire in the grass-filled ditch. The officers stopped to engage the flames with their issued fire extinguisher, but the conditions were not favorable and they were unable to contain the fire.
You know, it's like, I was talking to a buddy, it's like somebody just wants this town burned. What about Lytton? 2016 went from 35 to 38.5. 2020 went from 35 to 41. There were two 40s there, but once again, 38 to, it's just not as hot. What about Spokane, which is similar to Kelowna? Of course, in Fahrenheit, we have 93 to 97. In 2020, it breaks 103 times. But in 2021, it breaks it more times and gets all the way to 109. Phoenix is the one exception. In 2016, it got up to top three were 15, 16, 18. In 20, we had two 16s to 17 and 18. 21, we got up to 18, pretty close. But 23 was really hot, several 19s. Even Phoenix, which was actually hotter in 23, has hit higher temperatures before. Actually, I can't find an official record to verify 128, but it here hit 122 in 1990. New York City in 2016, 92 to 96, 92 to 96 in 2020, but 91 all the way up to 98 in 2021, slightly hotter. And how about Calgary? 27 to 30 in 16, 28 to 33 in 20, 31 to 36, hotter again in 21. I can see how they might not be technically lying because there were more average temperatures or possibly like globally, right? And it is global television. But of course, these channels are focusing, primarily on the weather in the areas where the people are watching them, whether you're in Toronto or Vancouver, right? And it's misleading.
And Monday and Tuesday of this week also set new records for the hottest days ever.
Once again, remember that when he says the hottest days ever, it really is just hottest temperatures on those exact dates and not overall. Or maybe not even the hottest temperature on those dates.
But this year, average temperatures are trending even higher. Last month was the warmest June ever recorded.
In terms of globally, I decided to at least have a look at the United States. Save America!
I like freezies when it's really hot. Freezies can cool you down. And sometimes I pretend that my freezie is a lightsaber.
And we started with LA, which seems even milder than Vancouver. Through June and early July, 2023 is the coolest. 22 comes back ahead, and 23 finally gets warm at the end of July. In August, 22 comes back, with 24 just behind it. Both of those years have their hottest period in September, but 22 is the overall highest for LA. Los Angeles, 2021 had 25 days at 77 and 1 at 86. It is mild there. 2022, 58 at 77, 9 at 86, 2 at 95, and both 100. That's pretty hot for the big Los Angeles. 23 had 27 days at 77 and only 1 at 86, which is still better than 21, I guess. 24 had 32 at 77, 5 at 86, and 1 at 95, which hit 102. So 22 was the hottest, then 24, then 23, and 21. Phoenix, Arizona, which is basically hell on earth.
I can't go on! Feel so hot! Feeling warmth is a symptom of the last stages of hypothermia!
2021 in Phoenix, Arizona, had 4 non-86s. Yeah, we're doing this different. 4 days that didn't reach 86 degrees, 13 non-95s, 22 days that hit 110, and 7 days that hit 115. 2022 had 3 non-95s, 22 days that hit 110, and 1 at 115. 2023 had 4 non-95s, 55 days that hit 110, and 22 that hit 115. 2024 had 2 non-95s, 66 days that hit 110, but only 12 with 115, only in reference to the 22 we just had in 2023. And 23 was hotter, but 24 was more consistent, with 21 in third and 22nd last. And this right here can actually change the outlook of the summer averages, or the perception of the nation, not just because of the maximum temperatures achieved, but the long period of time in which they remain. It's always hot there in the summer. This is the hottest place. This is Death Valley. Burn ourselves to hell. This news report was June 17th, 2021.
Meteorologists forecast a scorching hot summer this year around the globe. Russia to experience heat not seen in more than a century. Over in the U.S., there could be more wildfires in California. Han Sang-woo has the details.
California's Death Valley hit a whopping 54 degrees Celsius on Wednesday.
This is early to have this much of a heat wave. It's happened before.
Now, although it got up to 130 degrees in 2021, Apparently it was only 128 on June 17th, according to Extreme Weather Watch. But they've got at 129 on June 17th on this report. Nevertheless, it only got up to 128 in 23, 129 in 2024, and so far this year in 2025, 124 is the high.
A dangerous heat wave is burning up the U.S. again. Millions of people are under heat emergencies as multiple cities report record high temperatures. The scorching heat is causing unhealthy air quality for many.
When I come out, as soon as I take that first breath of air, I can feel it in my chest.
In New York, 2021 gets off to a fast start, and 24 comes back, but the heat wave in 21 at the end we know of hit there too, reaching 98. For the highest temperature of all these in the Big Apple. 22, 23, and 24 are all pretty hot through July. 2022 seems to be the top year in August, with a 97 Fahrenheit on the 9th. 23 comes on in September, but 22 really was the hottest overall there. In 2021, the Big Apple, New York City, had 84 days at 77, 32 at 86, and 2 at 95. 2022 had 98 at 77, 45 at 86, and 4 at 95. 2023 had 94 at 77, 32 at 86, 24 had 97 at 77, 38 86s, and 2 95s. 22 was the hottest, followed by 24, 21, and 23, although 23 more consistent than 21. Another thing about this is even if the media throws out the hottest summer records too loosely, what's the crime in that? Well, obviously it's misleading because many people will believe, even if they stated somewhere that it was a global record and not a national or provincial one, that it applies to their area. I think another thing this type of news influences, of course, is purchasing products and consumerism, like, oh, I need to buy more water or a visor. Maybe another one of those umbrellas, that you put on the table there. Yeah, and for God's sakes, those Crocs. You know those sales are skyrocketing when they say it's hottest. AI also get, people like that, I mean, they're probably related to the Kachucks in hockey. That's probably why they wear Crocs. AI also gives false data, like here, saying how this temperature in 2021 on June 28th in Abbotsford was in 2024, along with 39.4 in August, which actually was in 2021 as well. It says it at 38 degrees in July 2024, which actually happened in 2009, and that it hit 37.5 in September 2024, which actually happened in 1988. Like, it matched up with what I saw in the news. And yes, I know I've been criticizing the news here, but not with making up actual fake numbers, just with throwing records out loosely where you have to follow the specific details of the fine print. Otherwise, it's the hottest summer ever, not globally, but right where you live, despite actually not being hotter. And like with Kamloops, for example, here at 44, 47.3 on June 30th, and then July 1st, 46.6. Even if it's a shorter time, let's just say, you gotta realize how devastating once it starts cracking the 40s into the mid and even high 40s, like in Lytton, what that can do. Like, we've talked about the fire, but then there's the deaths. Nearly 600 people died from that heat wave in BC. I think it was that one alone. I was out in that heat. I made a music video. Yo, it's hot. It's hot. Yo, it's really hot outside. The story with the music video called Heat Wave is, I just wanted to talk about how hot it was, and I realized the record was supposed to be hotter the next day. The first day, it hit 40 degrees, I believe, 39 or 40 where I was. So after going to sleep and waking up in the middle of the night at around 1 a.m. or something, I started coming up with this song. I started writing lyrics for it, and by the early part of the morning, I was singing them because I had to kind of scream a bit. Then I started going outside. I went outside intentionally during the peak of it, just so I could say that I did, I guess. I'm insane! I think that gave me more time to do editing on the song, like the audio work and sound effects.
For 2 days in a row, students in Philadelphia have been dismissed early because of the heat. Schools in Baltimore are back to virtual learning since many have no air conditioning.
Everybody should have air. I mean, you got air in your car, you got air at your job. Why not in our schools?
This latest heat wave comes as the UN issues an urgent call to world leaders to take climate control action. The planet has never experienced a hotter summer.
Global sea surface temperatures are unprecedented. Antarctic sea ice is unprecedentedly low for this time of year, and it was the hottest August on record by a big margin.
Scientists say if this trend continues, expect to see more pollution and more wildfires.
Philadelphia had 112 77-degree days in 2021, 59 at 86, and 6 at 95. In 22, there were 113 days at 77, 69 at 86, and 9 at 95. In 23, there were 101 at 77, 53 at 86, and 5 at 95. And in 24, there were 110 at 77, 61 at 86, and 16 at 95. 24 really is the hottest, followed by 22 and then 21. And 23 just close behind that.
It's good. Water.
You can't take on the Weather Channel, Rocky. Those guys are killers. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. Calgary, Cowtown. Calgary's just hotter in June 21. It hits 39 times. 2024 hits 39 times in July. 21 and 23 have the hottest days here in August, but 22 is more consistent and really overall the hottest month. 21 had the highest day in August, 34.2. 21 cools down a lot here, but 22 is the most hot at the end of August. And then in September, 24 has 5 of 8 days at 30. In Calgary 2021, there were 50 days at 25, 21 30s, 3 35s. 2021 has the highest temperature at 36.3 in July and June. 22 had 51 25s, 17 30s, 23 had 50 25s, and 11 30s, and 1 35. 24 had 45 25s, 16 30s, no 35s. In Calgary 2021 was hotter, 24, 22, and 23 close, but 22 more consistent.
I remember in 1934 when you would make a bowl of corn pops. Boy, oh boy, that was some tasty cereal. But it used to get so hot back then, the heat, it made the corn pops taste like crap.
Victoria, the capital of British Columbia, Canada. Nice place. Victoria was way up in 21, hitting 37.8, and the rest of the way was very close. Hottest day again in 2021 in August at 34.2. Overall, Victoria's hottest in 2021. According to these stats, Victoria only had 25-degree temperatures on 4 occasions in 2024. But when I went outside, I realized the first one is the only, because there were different stages that I went outside, like little increments, because I didn't want to stay out too long, especially up to the first one when I realized my camera needed to be in the shade. Like after having it out in the open for only a few minutes doing some shots, I realized, holy, it's heating up so fast. As much as I was worried about my own health and safety, I was really worried about my camera. So I went back inside, walking fast and jogging a little bit in the shade, and then just coming out. The second time was to the parking lot where I bought some, I think, twisted teas or hay-alls and drank at least 1 or 2 of them in the parking lot while recording myself. The third one, I went out just near my house and parked my camera underneath a tree where some people that I didn't even know decided to be in the music video. I went out a 4th time walking down some road, and I went to a person's house where the air conditioning in the bottom part of the house, when you open the door, you're coming from a 43-degree temperature inside. Like the main temperature in there was maybe 20 degrees, but the bottom was way cooler. The bottom part of the house was like 10 degrees. It's like a 30+ degree instant drop off. It was just a shock. I was like, wow, that's cold. Global warmists are bragging like lotto winners over this. They're acting like JWs if there was an apocalypse. I can't get anything done right like this. The damn heat. How can I describe this? The low for today is 25 Celsius, 25. I think I could die. The temperature's so high. When I tell other Canadians how hot it is, they say don't use Fahrenheit.
CBC's international climate correspondent Susan Ormiston joins us now live in studio with more on this story. So let's talk about this report, Susan. What does it find?
Well, you know, after last year, 2023, which was the hottest year on record, a lot of people wondered whether this would continue or whether we would see a little dip. Well, the data that's released this morning by Copernicus says that globally it was the hottest summer ever from June to August, something that is obvious to some people, but the data confirms this, that the trend last year was not an anomaly.
Meanwhile, in Florida,
Come in.
it seems like an attempt to spread global warming propaganda due to some hotter average temperatures, or even just certain technical heat records in certain places. This is from June 21st, 2024. Electric vehicles and the batteries that power them generally perform well in hot weather, but extreme heat can cut their range by up to 30%, according to a new study. According to Energy Star, EV sales in the United States are continuing to grow, with nearly 1.4 million vehicles sold in 2023. Although more people are investing in EVs, there are questions about their efficiency during extreme weather conditions. Recent study from Recurrent found electric cars work normally in hot conditions, but the findings also revealed EVs can lose up to 30% of total range in extremely hot weather. They want to sell these things, but they don't work as well. But maybe if more people are driving them, then eventually we're not going to have as much hot weather. And according to Google or AI Overview, yes, hotter summers and climate change are influencing the adoption of electric vehicles, but not always in a straightforward way.
Hi, Billy Mays here, and you need to subscribe to Derek. To Shot.
While extreme heat can impact EV battery performance and range, making some question their suitability in very hot climates, the broader awareness of climate change and its consequences is driving more people towards EVs as a more sustainable transportation option. And what about coal? Yes, coal significantly impacts hot weather by contributing to global warming and climate change.
The flood in Beaverton was caused by global warming.
I drove my Tesla over a speed bump and it exploded. I got some brain damage after that one.
Burning coal releases greenhouse gases, primarily carbon dioxide, which trap heat in the atmosphere and lead to rising global temperatures. This process disrupts weather patterns and can exacerbate extreme weather events like heat waves. How much coal does Canada use? In 2021, Canada burned 18.4 million tons of coal to generate 5% of its electricity. While coal is being phased out of electricity generation by 2030, it continues to be used in other industrial processes. I've heard it's down to closer to 1% now, though I'm not exactly sure of that. In 2024, the consumption was approximately 13.3 million tons, so that's down by a significant amount. That means we're down around like 3%, whereas, say, North Korea, they consume approximately 32.5 thousand short tons of coal annually. That's over 80% of its energy production, the highest ratio globally. 2023, China consumed over 4 billion tons of coal. 2022, the US consumed approximately 513 million short tons of coal. That's about 9.8% of the country's total energy consumption. So basically 2 to 3 times as much as Canada.
Try more like 10 times more than Canada, you damn hoser.
I'm still not 100% sold on climate change, but pollution-wise, obviously, there would be more from gas-powered cars. And don't forget about this. Electric vehicles that derive their power from dirty energy aren't necessarily better for the environment, but they are better for Beijing. But that's another story.
I own a Tesla because electronic is better for the environment.
EVs typically have a greater negative environmental impact due to their greater energy requirements and the reliance on a variety of rare earth metals.
Tom, I'm standing just outside of Chicago, where the panic of global warming has already caused countless deaths. Already we're reporting that the death toll here in Chicago is over 600 billion people.
Spokane had 81 days at 77 degrees, 54 at 86 degrees, 20 at 95, and 3 at 104 with a high of 109 degrees Fahrenheit in 2021. In 22, there were 83 days at 77, 52 at 86, and 13 at 95. 2023 had 87 at 77 degrees, 43 days at 86, and 12 at 95. Finally, in 24, there were 87 at 77, 54 at 86 degrees, 19 at 95, and 2 at 104 with 107 high. 21 is the hottest technically, but 24 had one more 100-plus day. It was pretty close between them.
Spokane, Washington's a nice place. I like to visit there when I'm in Texas sometimes.
It's so hot in Washington that city pools, scheduled to close on Labor Day, will now stay open until September 21st.
It's pretty warm here, but couldn't be a better place than at the pool.
Did you see that guy in the pool in Washington? He looked like he was in danger.
Washington, D.C. in 21 had 116 days at 77, 67 at 86, and 6 at 95. In 22, there were 110 at 77, 71 at 86, and 7 at 95. In 23, there were 110 days at 77 degrees, 70 at 86, and 8 at 95. And in 24, there were 112 days at 77 degrees, 67 at 86, 20 at 95, 1 at 104, but 6 at 100. So 24 is surely the hottest, 23 about second, then 22 and 21, although those three were all pretty close. Meanwhile, in Florida,
Mrs. Seinfeld, please, I am begging you, put the air conditioner on.
You're hot?
Toronto, Canada's version of the Big Apple. Toronto in 2021 had 70 days at 25 and 18 at 30. In 22, 74 at 25, 10 at 30, and 2 at 35. 23 had only 57 days at 25, and 11 at 30. 22 is the hottest, but 21 more consistent. Kamloops, British Columbia was incomplete through all the years under review here.
I can't download TV. Poor hamsters. You know what I'm saying?
Low 30s, with the humidex making it feel even hotter. The two cities are among the many areas in both provinces under Environment Canada heat warnings. CBC News science and climate specialist Darius Madavi joins us live in Vancouver with more. So Darius, what stands out about these new heat records?
It's really the fact that this is the second month in a row where we've seen just heat records being smashed left and right.
There were a number of days with missing weather data that I had to go to other sites to add in. In Toronto, it's a little bit more unofficial here in 2024 because there was just so many days I didn't bother. Believe me, it was hard to find all this data. So what did we learn? Because yeah, honestly, I'm sick of talking about temperatures. I don't know, it was hot in all the years and maybe global warming is real, but I barely was ready to truly focus on that in this video, as opposed to just the media's intent to say more recent years are hotter than older ones, and of course, that falls in line with climate change. There was 2016 and 20, which we showed numerous examples of throughout the continent that didn't seem to add up. I really just want to get back outside and catch some rays. So in terms of global warming, we decided to take a look into the past. We chose 2009 because I seem to remember that being pretty hot, and compared it to 2023. So in Abbotsford, British Columbia, 2009 was definitely hotter than 2023. Kelowna though, not quite as hot. Close though. Vancouver, definitely hotter than 2009. Lytton, not quite. Victoria, notably hotter. Calgary, not quite as hot. Toronto, slightly hotter in 23. Spokane, 23 is slightly hotter. Los Angeles is fairly noticeably hotter in 2009. New York City, close but hotter in 2023. Phoenix is hotter in 23 by 4 degrees. Washington, D.C. is slightly hotter in 23. Philadelphia, also hotter. And Death Valley is about the same from top to bottom. So from this slightly random of coast to coast, in my area it seems to be a little hotter in British Columbia, Canada in 2009 than 2023. But in America, it seems to be getting hotter if you go by that. So there may be some reality to global warming. Although Death Valley, which is the hottest place, didn't change at all. Death Valley is always hot. Are we getting closer to Death Valley? The hottest temperature ever recorded on Earth is 56.7 degrees Celsius, 134.1 degrees Fahrenheit. Furnace Creek Ranch in Death Valley, July 10th, 1913. Wait, the hottest temperature ever recorded globally was in Death Valley at 128 degrees? Okay, I'm done with this. Oh, and subscribe.
It's coming this way, fast. Let's get out of here.
I didn't like people posting information that disproved COVID, so I made fact checkers shut them down.
But from the data, which is not complete on all years 21 to 24, consistently 22 appears to be, and this is the one year that, you know, you're not hearing about with these records. I don't think it had quite the, you know, the consistency. Yeah, it seems hotter there from what I've got.